Why does waking up to your true self make you feel more isolated than connected? Why does growing into who you're meant to be feel like you're drifting away from everyone else? You'd expect awakening to feel like a victory, like finally stepping out of the shadows into clarity. But instead, something unexpected happens. The world around you shifts. People don't feel the same anymore. The conversations that once brought comfort now feel empty, like echoes in a hollow room. You're not trying to judge anyone, and you don't think you're above them. But something inside you has changed. You're sitting with a friend, listening to them talk about their weekend plans, the same old gossip, the same complaints, and your chest tightens. You nod, you smile, but inside, you're somewhere else entirely. It's like you're tuned to a different wavelength, vibrating on a frequency no one else seems to hear. And no one tells you this part of awakening: the deeper you go into your truth, the lonelier it can feel, at least for a while. So why does this happen? Why do people who once energized you now leave you drained? This isn't about shutting people out or becoming cold. It's not about hating the world. Master Shi Heng, a Shaolin monk and master of mindfulness, understood this kind of inner shift long before it had a name. He didn't just call it awakening, he described it as a journey toward inner alignment, a process of stripping away what's false to uncover what's real. And that journey comes with a cost. In this video, we're diving into why human connection changes when you awaken, why you start craving depth over chatter, and why small talk can feel like nails on a chalkboard to your soul. We're not here to talk in vague spiritual terms. This is about the raw, human experience, the confusion, the guilt, the quiet grief, and the freedom that comes after. If you've ever felt exhausted after spending time with people you used to enjoy, if you've ever wondered why everyone seems so distant, so caught in a script, stay with me. By the end of this, you'll see you're not losing your mind. You're waking up. And Master Yi's teachings offer a roadmap to navigate this shift. Shi Heng teaches that most of us live behind a facade, not because we're deceitful, but because it's how we've learned to survive. This facade is the version of ourselves we show the world, the polite smile, the agreeable nod, the role we play to fit in. We wear it at work, with family, even with friends. For a long time, that facade feels like safety, like belonging. But awakening is what happens when that facade starts to crack. A voice inside you whispers, "This isn't all there is." You start questioning things you once accepted without thought. You say no to what no longer feels right. And the deeper you dive into this truth, the clearer it becomes. Many of your relationships were built on that facade, not on who you truly are. When that outer layer falls away, some connections can't hold. That's why you feel drained, not because people are wrong, but because the version of you they knew is fading. Here's where it gets heavy. Your body is still wired to play that old role. You walk into a room, an instinct kicks in, you shrink, you please, you smooth things over to avoid conflict. But your soul is demanding something else: truth, alignment, authenticity. That clash between your old habits and your new awareness? That's what's exhausting you. It's not the people around you, it's the energy it takes to keep pretending. That tension you feel, that exhaustion after social interactions, it's not just in your head. It's your body signaling that it's tired of carrying a version of you that no longer fits. Awakening isn't about cutting people off or retreating from the world. It's about stepping into your truth so fully that you can finally connect without losing yourself. And this is where Master Shi Heng's teachings shine a light. Shi speaks of the inner temple, a sacred space within you where your authentic self resides. Most of us spend our lives building walls around that temple, hiding it to stay safe, to be liked, to avoid conflict. But when you awaken, those walls start crumbling. You can't keep them up anymore. Your soul demands space to breathe, and that means letting go of what's false, even if it's comfortable, even if it's familiar. This is why conversations that used to feel easy now feel heavy. You're not just hearing words anymore, you're sensing what's unsaid. You pick up on the masks people wear, not because you're judging them, but because you're starting to see your own. Shi Heng teaches that true strength lies in facing what's hidden within us, what he calls the unseen layers. These aren't just your flaws or fears. They're also your untapped potential, your courage, your quiet wisdom waiting to be claimed. These unseen layers are like the shadows in a Shaolin practice, parts of you that have been tucked away, ignored, or suppressed. Maybe it's the anger you were taught to swallow, the dreams you were told were unrealistic, or the intuition you dismissed to fit in. Awakening is when you start seeing these layers, not just in yourself, but in others too. And it's overwhelming. A casual chat with a friend suddenly feels loaded. You hear their insecurities beneath their bravado, their pain behind their laughter, their masks clashing with their truth. You're not imagining this. Your body is reacting because it's rejecting what's inauthentic. It's like trying to drink from a cup that's already full of someone else's expectations. Your soul craves clarity, depth, something real. And that's why small talk feels suffocating, why drama feels like static, why you'd rather be alone than surrounded by noise that doesn't resonate. Here's where it gets raw. The people who trigger you most, the friend who's always complaining, the coworker who needs constant approval, they're mirrors. They're showing you parts of yourself you haven't fully faced yet. Master E would say this isn't a curse, it's a gift. Every irritation is a lesson, pointing you toward what needs healing or integration. Maybe that friend's neediness reflects a part of you that still seeks validation. Maybe that colleague's defensiveness echoes a fear you're still untangling. But there's a trap here, one Shi Heng warns against, the ego of awakening. It's easy to start thinking you're above others, that you're the enlightened one and everyone else is stuck. That's not growth. That's just a new kind of mask, dressed up in spiritual clothes. True awakening, according to Master E, is rooted in humility. It's seeing others not as less awake, but as fellow travelers on their own path, carrying their own unseen layers. This humility is where the healing starts. It's where the exhaustion begins to lift. When you stop fighting the mirrors others hold up, you stop draining your energy trying to fix or avoid them. You start to see their struggles with compassion, not judgment. And that shift changes everything. It's not about isolating yourself, it's about protecting your inner temple while still showing up for the world. That exhaustion you feel after social interactions isn't just emotional or spiritual, it's physical. Your body is speaking, and it's telling you something profound. It's done carrying the weight of inauthenticity. Awakening doesn't just shift your mind or soul, it rewires your entire being, especially your nervous system. And Master Shi Heng, with his Shaolin wisdom, understood this connection between body and spirit better than most. Shi teaches that the body is a temple, not just a vessel. It's where your truth lives, where your energy flows, where your awakening takes root. But for most of your life, your body has been trained to adapt to chaos, to people please, to stay quiet, to absorb the emotional noise of others. You've been conditioned to ignore your own signals, to override your instincts, to smile when you're screaming inside. And that conditioning has a cost. When you awaken, your body starts to rebel against this old programming. You walk into a room, and instead of slipping into the familiar role of peacemaker or performer, you feel a resistance. Your heart races, your shoulders tense, your energy dips. It's not because you're weak, it's because your body is rejecting what no longer aligns with your truth. Shi Heng would say this is your inner temple saying, enough. It's demanding authenticity the way your lungs demand air. This is why surface-level conversations feel so draining now. They're not just boring, they're a betrayal of the deeper connection you're craving. You're not just hearing words, you're feeling the dissonance between what's said and what's true. If you're an empath or highly sensitive, this is even more intense. You've spent years soaking up other people's emotions, reading the room, keeping the peace. You didn't just notice tension, you absorbed it, carried it, made it your own. That was your survival mechanism, but it's also why you're so tired. Awakening turns up the volume on this sensitivity. You don't just sense people's moods, you feel their unprocessed pain, their hidden fears, their unspoken truths. It's like your nervous system is picking up signals it was never trained to handle. A casual coffee chat can feel like a storm of static because your body hasn't yet learned how to filter this new level of awareness. Shi Heng teaches that this overwhelm isn't a flaw, it's a sign of growth. Your body is upgrading, recalibrating to match your expanding consciousness. But here's the hard part: while your soul is ready for truth, your nervous system is still catching up. It's still wired to react to old triggers, to brace for conflict, to shrink to avoid rejection. That clash between your awakened awareness and your old conditioning creates a kind of inner friction. It's why you might feel flooded with emotions after a simple conversation, why you need to retreat to recharge, why the world feels too loud sometimes. This isn't a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that you're alive, that you're no longer numb to the truth. You're feeling the world at its rawest, and that can be overwhelming. But Master Yi's teachings offer a way forward: discipline your body, not to suppress it, but to align it with your spirit. Through practices like meditation, breathwork, or mindful movement, you teach your nervous system to stay grounded in your truth, not swept away by external noise. This is where the shift begins. As your body learns to anchor in your authentic energy, the overwhelm starts to fade. You begin to listen without absorbing, to feel without carrying, to be present without losing yourself. And that's when human connection stops feeling like a burden and starts feeling like a choice, a sacred one. So, your body's rebelling, your soul's craving truth, and the people around you feel like they're on a different wavelength. You're not broken, you're awakening. But how do you move through this fatigue, this disconnection, without losing yourself or shutting out the world? Master Shi Heng, with his Shaolin wisdom, offers a path. It's not about escaping others, but about anchoring so deeply in your truth that you can connect without compromising who you are. Shi teaches that true strength isn't about controlling the world around you, it's about mastering your inner response to it. When you're awakening, your nervous system is like a radio picking up every signal, every frequency, every bit of static. A friend's complaint, a coworker's subtle jab, a family member's expectation, it all hits you harder because you're no longer filtering it through the old facade. You're raw, open, and that can feel like too much. But here's the turning point. This sensitivity, this overwhelm, isn't a curse, it's a signal. It's your body telling you it's time to set boundaries, not walls. Boundaries aren't about pushing people away, they're about honoring your inner temple. Shi Heng would say it's like tending a garden: you don't let every weed take root, but you don't burn the whole garden down either. You choose what nourishes you and what doesn't. This is where discipline becomes your ally. Not the harsh, punishing kind, but the kind rooted in self-respect. Practices like meditation, mindful breathing, or even a simple walk in nature can teach your body to stay centered, to observe without absorbing. You start to notice someone's anger without taking it on. You hear their pain without letting it drown you. You feel their energy without letting it pull you off course. This is what Shi calls stillness in motion, being fully present, yet unshaken. As you practice this, something shifts. The exhaustion starts to lift, not because the world changes, but because you're no longer fighting yourself. You're no longer splitting your energy between who you are and who you think you're supposed to be. You stop apologizing for needing space, for saying no, for choosing depth over drama. And this is where connection starts to feel different. You begin to attract people who resonate with your energy, who don't ask you to shrink or perform. These aren't just friendships, they're soul-aligned bonds. They feel different because they're built on truth, not obligation. You're not connecting out of guilt or habit, you're choosing from a place of clarity. And the people who stay or enter your life now? They see you, the real you, not the mask you used to wear. But this shift often comes after a season of solitude. That alone time isn't loneliness, it's preparation. It's your inner temple clearing out the clutter, recalibrating your energy, making space for what's true. Shi Heng teaches that solitude is a crucible, a place where you forge your strength. It's where you learn to trust your own voice, to stand in your truth without needing validation. This doesn't mean you'll never feel drained again. Awakening isn't a finish line, it's a practice. Some days, you'll still feel the static of the world. Some people will still trigger you. But the difference is, you'll know why. You'll see it as a chance to grow, not a sign you're failing. And as you integrate more of your unseen layers, your fears, your dreams, your quiet power, you'll find that connection becomes less about surviving others and more about sharing your light. As you anchor deeper into your awakening, something remarkable happens. You stop chasing connection and start choosing it. The fatigue, the overwhelm, the disconnection you've been feeling, they're not signs you're destined to be alone. They're signs you're learning to relate from a place of truth. Master Shi Heng, with his Shaolin wisdom, teaches that real connection isn't about fitting in, it's about standing in your authenticity and inviting others to meet you there. When you awaken, you stop seeking safety in others' approval. Instead, you become the safety you once craved. This shift is subtle but seismic. You're no longer bending to avoid conflict or performing to be liked. You're showing up as you are, and that changes the entire dynamic of your relationships. Shi would say this is like a warrior stepping onto the training ground. You're not there to fight others, but to master yourself. And in that mastery, you attract those who resonate with your energy. These new connections feel different. They're not built on obligation, guilt, or the need to fill silence. They're rooted in presence, in mutual respect, in a shared hunger for truth. You'll notice the people who enter your life now don't drain you. They don't ask you to dim your light or play a role. They hold space for your growth, and you do the same for them. These are the relationships that feel like coming home. But getting here often requires letting go. Some people in your life, friends, family, colleagues, may not make the transition with you. Not because they're bad, but because they were connected to a version of you that no longer exists. Grieving those losses is part of awakening. It's not a failure, it's a sacred release. Shi Heng teaches that letting go is an act of courage, like a tree shedding leaves to make way for new growth. It hurts, but it's necessary. This grief isn't a sign you're doing something wrong. It's proof you're moving towards something real. Every ending carves space for a beginning. The people who stay, or the new ones who arrive, connect with the you beneath the facade, the one who's no longer hiding. And that connection is powerful because it's honest. It's not about pleasing or proving, it's about being seen. Shi's teachings remind us that awakening is about integration, not perfection. You're not trying to become flawless, you're weaving together all parts of yourself, the light, the shadow, the wounds, the wisdom. This integration makes your presence magnetic. You stop apologizing for your sensitivity or your need for depth. You stop explaining your boundaries. You embody your worth, and that shifts how others meet you. But this doesn't mean you become untouchable or detached. Awakening doesn't make you cold, it makes you grounded. Your love becomes fiercer because it's no longer tangled in fear. You can show up for others without losing yourself, hold space for their struggles without carrying their weight. This is what Shi Heng calls compassion with strength, caring deeply, but not at the cost of your inner peace. And here's the beautiful truth: as you integrate more of your truth, you stop seeing others as triggers or threats. You start to see them as mirrors, as teachers, as fellow travelers. Even the ones who challenge you are part of your journey, showing you where you still need to grow. This perspective doesn't just lighten your fatigue, it transforms how you move through the world. You're no longer reacting to noise, you're responding from clarity. You felt the fatigue, the disconnection, the overwhelm of awakening. You've faced the mirrors, the grief, the shift in how you relate to others. Now, you're standing at the edge of something new, a way of living that's anchored in your truth. Master Shi Heng, with his Shaolin wisdom, teaches that awakening isn't about escaping the world or rising above it. It's about reclaiming your inner temple so deeply that no external noise can pull you out of alignment. This is the reward of awakening, not isolation, but liberation. You're no longer swayed by the need to please, to perform, or to fit in. You're not hiding behind a facade or shrinking to avoid conflict. You're showing up as your full self, and that changes everything. Shi Heng would say this is like a warrior standing firm in their center, unshaken by the storm, yet open to the world. Your energy becomes a beacon, drawing in those who resonate with your truth and gently releasing those who don't. This doesn't mean you'll never feel drained again. Awakening is a practice, not a destination. There will be days when the world feels too loud, when old triggers resurface, when you need to retreat to your inner temple. But now you know what those moments mean. They're not setbacks, they're invitations to return to yourself, to realign, to choose truth over comfort. And each time you do, you grow stronger. Shi Heng teaches that true power lies in this choice, to live from your center, not from the expectations of others. When you do, your relationships transform. You stop attracting people who need you to play a role and start drawing in those who see you, who challenge you to grow, who honor your boundaries as much as you honor theirs. These connections feel sacred because they're built on authenticity, not obligation. And the solitude you once feared? It becomes your strength. It's no longer about loneliness, it's about clarity. It's the space where you hear your own voice, where you integrate your unseen layers, where you rebuild your energy. Shi Heng calls this the quiet power of stillness. It's not about shutting out the world, it's about knowing yourself so well that you can engage with it without losing your way. If you're in that strange space right now, tired of surface chatter, drained by pretense, craving something deeper, trust it. You're not broken. You're not alone. You're waking up. And this awakening is the privilege of a lifetime, as Shi Heng reminds us, to become who you truly are. Every moment of disconnection, every pang of fatigue, every relationship that shifts or falls away, it's all part of that journey home to yourself. So, keep going. Honor your truth, even when it feels heavy. Set boundaries, even when they're uncomfortable. Choose connections that lift you, not because they're easy, but because they're real. And when you come out the other side, you won't just relate differently, you'll live differently. Your life will become a reflection of your inner temple, clear, grounded, and unshakable. If this resonates, share it with someone who's feeling the same fatigue, the same pull toward truth. Drop a comment below. When was the moment you realized you couldn't connect the same way anymore? What did it teach you? And if you're ready to dive deeper into this journey, hit that subscribe button. This is just the beginning of who you're becoming. Keep walking your path, keep tending your inner temple, and know that every step is leading you home.